Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavat overview class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham
Vandeham Sri
Shri
Guru
Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam
Sadvaitam
Sadhutam
Sadhutam
Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri
Sri Sakhamita
Shakha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Sindhu Dinabandhu
Jagatpate
Jagatpati
Gopesha
Gopesha
Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate
Radhakanta Namostute
Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanu
Vrishabhanu
Devi
Devi
Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
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 Om Vishnupadaya Krishna
Krishna
Prasthaya Bhutale
Presthaya Bhutale
Srimate
Srimate
Bhaktivedanta
Bhaktivedanta
Swami
Swaminiti
Namine
Namine
Namaste
Namaste
Saraswati
Saraswati
Devi
Devi
Gauravani
Gauravani
Pracharine
Pracharine
Nirvishesha
Nirvishesha
Shunyavadi
Shunyavadi
Paschatyadesh Tarine
Paschatya Tarine
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Shri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Shivasati
Shrivasati
Gaur
Gaura
Bhaktavinda
Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
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 Krishna Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare
Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. So we are discussing from the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are discussing the story of uh, Prachina Barhishat and all the Prachetas. So we discussed how Prachetas, when they went to do austerities, when because they were instructed by their father Prachina Barhi, and on their way they met Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva instructed all the Prachetas how to perform the devotional service by describing the beautiful song that is called the Song of Lord Shiva, the song sung by Lord Shiva, and that is called Rudra Geet. And we saw how very beautifully uh, Lord Shiva, he described, first of all, he offered the obeisances to the Chaturvyuha, which are the predominating deities of the Antahakarana, consciousness, false ego, mind, and intelligence. And then he offered his obeisances and respects to the deities of the five elements: Agni, Surya, Agni, Soma, and then Vayu, and then sound. And then also he offered his obeisances to Hiranyagarbha. And after that, he offered his obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to give devotional service. And then he offered obeisances. He's offering all these prayers. Then he offered his prayers to the deity of false ego, that is Rudra. And then after describing this, he described the beautiful form of the Lord, and very beautiful verses we heard yesterday describing the various features of the form of the Lord. Darshanannodidrikshunam dehi bhagavatachitam rupam priyatamam swanam sarvendriya gunanjanam. So this is how he described the beautiful form of the Lord, which is satisfying to all the senses. And he described that the Lord's form is the collection of all the beauty, sarva saundarya sangraham. And he described all the bodily parts, and then he glorified the lotus feet of the Lord. And then after that, he described the glorious position of the devotees and the glorious position of the devotional service. And he described that how the devotees, they are not touched by death. And only by the mercy of the devotees, association of devotees, one can achieve the Lord. And then he, in the end, described the relationship between the Lord and the material creation. And then he described about time factor. And then the Falashruti was given by Lord Shiva. So now after this, so that was the end of the 24th chapter. So today we'll be discussing a very interesting section of this fourth canto. So after on the one side, Lord Shiva instructed all the Prachetas, and they went to perform the tapasyas. On the other side, Narad Muni, he saw that the father of these Prachetas, Prachina Barhishat, he was engaged in so many karma kandi activities. As we discussed earlier also, that Prachina Barhi means, Prachina Barhi means he would do so many sacrifices, and one after another. When one sacrifice would get over, he would start another sacrifice in the vicinity. And he would spread the kusha grass all over the earth, pointing towards east. So that was the expertise of Prachina Barhi. So Narad Muni, he thought I should show mercy to Prachina Barhi also, because he is so much absorbed in sense gratification, materialistic life, karma kandi rituals. So he went to Prachina Barhi and he described the allegorical story which will span through many chapters, 3-4 chapters this allegorical story goes, and it's a very beautiful, very, very amazing story which Narad Muni is telling to Prachina Barhi. So now this chapter starts by the description of how Lord Shiva, after describing this Rudra Gita, he disappeared, and the Prachetas, they recited this Rudra Gita standing in the river, standing in the water for 10,000 years. 10,000 years they performed the austerities standing in the water. As the Prachetas were doing austerities, Prachina Barhi was engaged in so many fruitive activities. So Narad Muni, he thought, I will enlighten this Prachina Barhi, because Prachina Barhi was in the family of Dhruva. So Narad Muni, because he gave instructions to Dhruva Maharaj also, so he thought I should deliver the descendants of Dhruva also. That's how Parikshit Maharaj, when all the sages, they came to him and Shukdev Goswami came to him, he told that Apite Bhagavan Prita Krishna Pando Sutapriya Paitra Swaseya Pratyartham Tadgotra Syattabandavaha. He says, O Sukdev Goswami, I know why you have come, Yadrichaya, on your own. Because Krishna has inspired you in your heart. Krishna is so very, and my grandfathers, they were so very dear to Krishna. So that's why he has sent you at this time of my life. So, and similarly, the devotees of the Lord, they are also having such concern that, oh, this one person was delivered and his descendant, he is doing so much karma kandi rituals, I should deliver them also. So now Narad Muni, he went to Prachina Barhi, and then he asked Prachina Barhi, who was very, very attached to karma kandi rituals. He said, what do you desire to achieve by all these karma? It is not possible to get rid of miseries and attain happiness by doing karma. Dukkhahani and sukhavapti. You cannot destroy the miseries, and you cannot attain happiness just by performing karma kandi rituals. Because for karmis, their ultimate goal is to go to heaven. Ultimate goal of jnanis is to merge in Brahman. And of course, jnanis are superior to karmis. But a devotee, he is never interested in any of these paths. He is interested in only serving Krishna. So Prachina Barhi, when he was asked by Narad Muni in this way, so he says, Na janami mahabhaga karmapaviddha Na janami mahabhaga param karmapaviddhati bruhi me vimalam jnanam yena muccheya karmabhihi. So he says, Na janami mahabhaga param. O Narad Muni, I do not know the ultimate goal of life. Karma pavidhi. My intelligence, my dhiya means intelligence. My intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities. Karma pavidh. So therefore, bruhi me vimalam jnanam. Please tell me the pure knowledge. Please instruct me the pure knowledge. By hearing that knowledge, I can get out of the entanglement of fruitive activities. So therefore, Narottam Das Thakur also has written a bhajan, Satsang chhadi koi no asate Vilas, te karane lagi loe karma bandha phas. So because we have given up serving to the Supreme Lord, and we have trying to enjoy our sense gratification, that's why we have become entangled in this karma bandha. So therefore, Prachina Barhi is requesting to Narad Muni, please instruct me so that I can also come out of this karma bandha pass. So this is how one has to approach a spiritual master. Tad vijnanartham sagurum eva vikachet. The people in this world, they are so very absorbed in sense gratification. One time, one person came to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was speaking to him all this philosophy, and then at one point of time, he said, okay, Swamiji, thank you for your time. I am very happy I met you. Now I have to go for some other work. So Prabhupada said, just wait. And he called for gulab jamuns. And one devotee brought gulab jamun. And then Prabhupada said, please take these sweet. This is very wonderful. This is prasad of the Lord. He said, no, Swamiji, I don't have time. Please, I have to go. I'll come later. And Prabhupada was pressing him. No, please take one. Please take one. And then Prabhupada, he put one gulab jamun in the hand of this person, and then all the syrup was dripping, and then he was bewildered. And Prabhupada said, eat it. So somehow he put the whole gulab jamun in the mouth, and then the juice just came out, and it was all over his shirt and pant. And after he ate that, he liked it very much. And as he said, oh Swamiji, thank you very much. And he was leaving. While leaving, he asked, can I get one more? Prabhu said, yes, sure, you can get one more. And then he said, this will taste very good with my rum. At night when I take rum, I'll eat with the rum this sweet. Prabhu said, no, this is not you should not eat it with rum. This is prasad of Lord. So anyways, he took and left. So therefore, people in this world, they have so very engrossed in sense gratification. So therefore, to come out of that requires mercy of the devotees. That's how we see in the life of so many of the disciples of Prabhupada. They left their so many sinful activities and they became surrendered devotees of the Lord. And therefore, then Prachina Barhi says, Grihamidhi life is a very unfortunate life. Griheshu kut dharmeshu putra dhara dhanarthati na param vindate mudho brahmayan sansara vartmasu. He says, Griheshu kut dharmeshu. One whose intelligence is fixed in all these kut dharma. Kut dharma means false occupational duties. What are the false occupational duties? Putra, dara, dhan, artha, dhi. Putra means taking care of the families, children, wife, wealth, property. That is not a true occupational duty. Dharmasya tattva dharma. First canto verse describes that dharmasya hi apavargasya narthasya arthayopakalpate dharmasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya hi smritaha. Dharma should be performed for liberation. Nehayat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirthpada sevaya jivan na pimritopisa. Your dharma, your karma should lead to dharma. Dharma should lead to vairagya, and vairagya should lead to devotional service. If this is not the sequence, then jivan na pimritopisa. Life is as good as being dead. So therefore, this Prachin Barhi is saying, my intelligence is fixed in this household life. And one who has intelligence fixed in household things cannot attain liberation. So therefore, please enlighten me. So now Prachin Barhi, when he requested in this way, Narad Muni, he used his mystic powers and he showed him all the animals which he had killed in various sacrifices. Because there are so many sacrifices which are done by the kings, which were done by the kings in the past, Ashwamedha Yagyas, Gomedha Yagyas. And if there is some discrepancy in the yagya and the animal does not get a new life, then it is very, very sinful. So Narad Muni, he told that because you have killed so many animals, just see all these animals, they are waiting to just pierce your body with their thorns. They are very angry and they want to take the revenge. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that when animals are killed in slaughterhouses, 6 people connected with the killing are responsible for the murder. First, one who gives permission for the killing. Second, one who kills the person. Third, one who helps the person in killing. Fourthly, one who purchases the meat. Fifth, one who cooks the meat. And lastly, sixth is one who eats the meat. So all these are equally responsible in killing an animal. So if somebody says, no, I did not kill the animal, I will not get the reaction. No, these 6 people are involved. One who gives permission to killing, one who kills, one who helps in killing, one who purchases the meat, one who cooks the meat, and one who actually eats the meat. So now after this, Narad Muni, he starts another very interesting story. He starts the story of Puranjan. So immediately he turned to another topic, and because this Prachina Barhi, he was a very, very intelligent king. So actually, intelligent people, they don't like to be told something very straightforward, because he was the king of whole world. So therefore, Narad Muni did not give him straightforward instructions. He made a very wonderful allegorical story, and he described that there was a king. His name was Puranjan, and then he described what happened to that king. So he says that once in the past lived the king named Puranjan, and he was very, very celebrated king for his great activities. He had a friend named Avigyata. Avigyata means the unknown one. No one could understand the activities of this Avigyata. So this Puranjan he is called as Brihashrava. Brihashrava means he had a great reputation. So everything which will be spoken now by Narad Muni has an allegory attached to it. Who is this Puranjan? Who is this Avigyata? What is this fame of the king Puranjan? So this Puranjan is representing a living entity in this world. So living entity, he is called as Brihashrava. Brihashrava, why he is called Brihashrava? Because he has a great reputation for various types of activities. He is so very attached to doing so many activities that he is famous for that, and that's why he's called as Brihashrava. And he has a friend who he does not know. Who is that friend? Avigyata. Avigyata means unknown friend, and that is our super soul. Although super soul sits besides the Jivatma as a friend, but the living entity does not know it. So consequently, he is described as Avigyata Sakha. Avigyata Sakha means unknown friend. And there is a word which is used, Avigyata Cheshtitaha. Avigyata Cheshtita means living entity works very hard under the direction of the Paramatma and is carried away by the laws of nature. As Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvasya Chaham Hridhi Sannivishto. Krishna is there, Supreme Lord is there in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So Jiva is called by the name Puranjan, and Avigyat, the super soul, is called his friend, unknown friend. And then Narad Muni says that this Puranjan, he was searching for a suitable place to live for fulfilling his desires for sense gratification. He went all over the place, but he could not find a suitable place. So he felt disappointed. So this is also very interesting. Why it is described that the soul is wandering through all the places? Because living entity is wandering through so many species of life, but all these species of life are not very suitable for the spirit soul. And actually, a living entity cannot be happy in this material world. So that's why he was not happy. People in this world, they are attached to so many things. Prabhupada writes, Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Keval Vishera Bhand. Amrit boli jeva khai, kadare bhakshan kare tar janma adha pate aaye. So all these karma kand and jnana kand, they are the pot of poison. If a living entity wants to taste that, then he will travel to all the various species of life. Kadarya Bhaksha, he eats all the abominable things, and then Tara Janma Adha Pate Aaye. Amrit Boliya Ye Bakhaye. So therefore, Prabhupada quotes this Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajan also. Miche Mayar Bhoshe Jasho Bheche Hacho Habo Dubu Bhai. So living entity. So it is said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, my dear living entity, you are being carried away by the waves of Maya. And you are being tossed one end, one day this side, other day this side. So therefore, unless one understands that Jiva Krishna Das, E Vishwas Karle Toar Dukhanai. If we understand that we are servants of Krishna, then we will not be miserable. So when we surrender to the Supreme Lord, then living entity will not be miserable. Otherwise, miseries will be there. So now this Puranjan, as he was traveling all over the place, once while wandering, he saw on the southern side of the Himalayas, there is a place called Bharat Varsha. There he found a city with 9 gates with all auspicious facilities. So this is another allegory. So what is this city of 9 gates? So this Bharat Varsha is the, when we'll study the Bhumandala, we'll see in detail that this whole Bhumandala is divided into 9 varshas, and there is a greater Himalayas below that is called a region called Bharat Varsha, and our Prithvi is one of the tracts in that Bharat Varsha, and only in Bharat Varsha humans reside, who have a body made up of various elements with 9 gates. So what is that body with 9 gates? What is this city with 9 gates? That is this material body. And Prabhupada writes that this Bharat Varsha is the most suitable place to perform bhakti. Bharat Bhumite Manishya Janma Hoile Jar Janma Sarthak Kari Kara Para Upakar. And now Narad Muni describes the whole city of 9 gates. He says in that city, as you can see in this slide, there are various aspects of the city which are compared with the body. So there were walls which are compared to the skin, and there were parks, upavan, which are compared to the hairs. There were very high towers, atala. They are compared to the highest parts like nose and head. And then there were trenches or canals. There were like depressions or wrinkles on the skin. When on the skin there are wrinkles and depressions, they are like that canals. And the windows of this city, they are like the eyes, and the gates are like the eyelids, closing the windows. And then there were houses which was made up of gold, silver, and iron. These are the 3 modes or 3 dhatus, kapha, vata, and pitta. And then the capital of the state is the heart. And then it is described that the floors in the city was made up of sapphire, crystal, diamond, pearls, emeralds, and rubies. They are like the various desires and plans for material enjoyment a living entity has. Then there was an assembly house, which is again the heart. So in the heart, it is the center of remembrance, forgetfulness, and deliberation. So according to Vedic scriptures, the heart is the center of all these remembrances, forgetfulness, and deliberation. As Krishna says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Mantra Yantra Rurahani Maya. And in other words, he says, Sarvasya Chaham Riddhisannivishto Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Matta Smriti, Jnana, and Apohanam Cha. So Paramatma is there in the heart, and he gives all the remembrance, forgetfulness, and deliberation. And then there were street crossings. So this is the place below the palate, inside the mouth. On the upper side there is a palate. So when the palate ends, that is a junction of various things. The junction of the mouth, the nose, eyes, and ears. So all the connections from these four places meet at the this place. So therefore it is called street crossings. So those who are doctors, they can understand it better. So this place is the connection, street crossing of all these four things. So mouth, then nose, then eyes also there is a tube which comes, then ears also there is a tube which comes, and then there are some flags and festoons. So these flags and festoons are compared to palms and the soles. And then there are streets. So these streets are the three nerves which are coming from the running down the spine. That is called Sushushna, Ida, and Pingala. And then there are some gambling houses also. What are these gambling houses? These are the gross location of the senses, because so many things, they keep entering the senses. And then the mind is a place like market. So many things are coming and being sold. And then chitta is the resting place of the living entity. And then it is described that in this city there were very beautiful trees and creepers encircling a very nice lake. And also there were bees and the birds that were always chanting and humming. So what is this garden and beautiful trees and creepers? They are like the favorable conditions surrounding the sex impulse. And Prabhupada writes in all the purports very wonderful description of how a living entity gets entangled in this world because of the sex impulse and the further things which come along with that. So therefore Prabhupada writes, because the body has genitals, when the living entity attains a particular age, he becomes agitated by sex impulse. And therefore Prabhupada writes, he quotes this verse, Matra sasva druhitra va na vivikta sano bhavet balwan indriya gramam vidvamsham api chakarshati. So an intelligent person should not even stay with one's daughter, sister, or mother in a secluded place, because Balawan Indriya Gramam, senses are so very powerful. Even a great person can get bewildered. So therefore, so this in this case, so this city with park represents means all the suitable conditions which are arising the sex impulse in a person, in a living entity. And then there were waterfalls, then winds and the spring air. So this waterfall represents a kind of rasa, So there are various rasas, and Prabhupada writes the most prominent rasa which a living entity tries to experience in this world is the rasa of sex life. That is called Adi rasa. And therefore, this spring air, when it blows, it increases this Adi rasa. We heard in the third canto that in the spiritual world, when all the denizens of spiritual world, they are traveling the plains with their wives. Vayamanika salalana charitani shashvat gayanti yatra shamalam shapanani bharatu antajjalenu vikasan madhumadhavinam gandhena khandit dhiya apyanilam shipantaha. So there also it is described that the residents of Vaikuntha, they are traveling in their beautiful airplanes along with their very beautiful wives. And as they are passing through the gardens, which is full of blooming lotuses, and the air blows through these gardens, and it carries a very beautiful aroma. But gandhen akhandit dhiyaha, they are not disturbed by this very, very sensual atmosphere, because they are very fixed in serving the Supreme Lord. But in the material world, all these material things, they disturb a living entity and they make them sensually, excited. And then over and above that, there were non-violent animals that represent no sinful activities, reactions due to the past sins. And then there were cooing of the cuckoos, and they were attracting travelers to rest in that nice garden. What is that cooing of the cuckoos? So that is represented by the persons who divide their enjoyment against family members, friends, and guests. And therefore, Prabhupada writes, that a peaceful family with wife and children is compared to a peaceful atmosphere of the forest. Children, they are compared to the non-violent animals. But then Prabhupada makes a very wonderful statement. He says, in the house, the wives and children, they are called Swajanakhya, the Syuh. They are burglars in the name of kinsmen. It is not in a negative sense, but he says that a living entity works very hard, but when he comes home, all his money is taken away by the wives and the children, and therefore they are called as Swajanakhya, the Syuh. And then after that, as he is roaming in this beautiful city, he sees a very beautiful woman, and this woman, she was walking there without any engagement. This woman had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying them. So then now Narad Muni starts the description of this Puranjani. So he named this beautiful woman as Puranjani. So then all the beauty of this lady is described. So this Puranjani, she arrived there on her own, yadrichhaya agatam. So it is very, very interesting to note that this Puranjani is what? So living entity, when it comes in this material world and he gets a body, in the body he gets the intelligence first. So first he gets some material intelligence. This Puranjani is representing the material intelligence. Intelligence which is functioning with ignorance. This is the dharmic intelligence which is still attached to sense gratification. Dharma, artha and kama. So dharmic intelligence and ultimately moksha. It is not a spiritual intelligence, it is material intelligence which is functioning in the ignorance. And then why she arrived on her own? Because that is the initial relationship of jiva with this material intelligence. It arises automatically. There is no cause for it. And then who are the 10 servants and 100 wives? The 10 servants are 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. These are the 5 jnanendriyas. The knowledge acquiring senses, and the 5 karmendriyas are hands, 2 hands, 2 legs, mouth, hands, legs, mouth, anus and genitals. So these are the 5 karmendriyas, the working senses. And every sense had hundreds of wives. These are the hundreds of desires a living entity has. Intelligence always has so many desires because he is always surrounded by 10 senses. The intelligence is surrounded by the 10 senses, and the 10 senses has so many desires. So therefore, Chakravarti Thakur writes that, O king, someone like you should never bring a beautiful woman in the grove. So he's telling, because if you by accident meet, see or touch her, you'll be condemned. So what he is saying is, a soul, the intelligence, a living entity should never expose the intelligence to various sense objects, sound, beautiful objects, touch, because if I mistake, one contacts that, then one will repent. Then after that, it is described that this Puranjani, she was protected by a 5-hooded snake. And what is this 5-hooded snake? That is the prana vayu. So intelligence is always protected by the prana vayu. And what are these 5 types of prana? So there are 12 types of prana. Every movement in the body is happening by the prana vayu, by some vayu. So there are 5 prominent airs: prana, apana, udana, samana and vyana. So these are the 5 prominent prana vayus. They are the 5-hooded snake protecting the intelligence. And then this intelligence is very beautiful and young, and she appeared as if she was anxious to find a suitable husband. So basically, what it means is intelligence cannot act without the contact with the consciousness of the soul. So that's how we have to understand that intelligence always will be active in the living entity. And for intelligence to work properly, the intelligence should be surrounded by the sense objects, surrounded by the pranavayu. That is what is described. And then the beautiful face of the this Puranjani is described. So she had a very beautiful face. That means they are the various ways of acquiring knowledge. Then beautiful nose is knowledge of smell. Then teeth means the taste and chew. The forehead means clarity of intelligence. And the beautiful ears with dazzling earrings represent the ability to understand the meanings of the scriptures concerning enjoyment and liberation. So then after that, it is described that this Puranjani is dark in complexion, and she was dressed in a yellow sari and a gold belt. So basically, intelligence, why is dark? She is dark in complexion because intelligence is like a cloud. It covers the knowledge of the Lord, and Jiva forgets the Lord. This material intelligence, which impels a living entity to engage in sense gratification, makes him to forget the Lord. So that's why it is called as dark in complexion. And therefore, why this sari, yellow sari? Because intelligence is covered by rajogun. That is a prominent mode of intelligence. Intelligence is born of rajogun. We discussed in the second canto. This intelligence comes from rajogun. And then the 2 feet represents the intelligence which is unsteady in hearing scriptures. So living entities, when the intelligence is not fixed, one cannot study the scriptures properly. When we sit to read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, after reading for few minutes or half an hour, mind will say, "Bahut ho gaya. Aaj ke liye enough is enough. There are so many things to do now. Just keep it aside and then do some other work. Tomorrow we'll start again, fresh man se अच्छे से शुरू करेंगे. So therefore, unsteady in hearing and reading scriptures. And then it is described this Puranjani had 2 breasts. So what are these 2 breasts? These are Rag and Dvesha. And they are very youthful because Rag and Dvesha is always younger. Rag means attachment and envy means, Dvesh means envy. As Bhagavad Gita says, Indriyasya Indriyasyarthe Raga Dvesha Vyavastito Tayorna Vashamagachet Tauhyasya Paripanthino. Paripanthino, people who are on the path of spiritual realization, they should not get bewildered by this rag and dvesha, by this attachment and envy. So therefore, it is why they are youthful? Because this rag and dvesh, they remain young in the old man's heart also. This sex impulse remains young in the old man's heart also, even up to the point of death. And Prabhupada tells the story of Akbar and Birbal. That one time Akbar asked Birbal, I think when the person grows old, sex desire goes away. Birbal says no, and then he takes Akbar along with his daughter to a person who is about to leave his body, very old. And when he sees this old man sees the daughter, he becomes very, very attentive and focused to see the beauty of the daughter. So that's how the desire to enjoy always remains young in the mind of a person. How to come out of this? Prabhupada writes only by the process of devotional service. And he quotes one very beautiful prayer by Yamunacharya. Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde nava nava rasadhamni udditam rantumasit aho batanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukhvikara shushto nishtivanam cha. So Yamunacharya was a great king, and by the mercy of the devotees, he could give up his kingly responsibilities and he dedicated his life to serve the Supreme Lord. So as a king, he had so many beautiful wives, and he was dealing with money and all these political things. So he's saying that when I remember my association with women, Nari Sangame, what happens? What is my response? Bhavati mukh vikara, my lips curl in distaste, and shushto nishthi vanamcha, and I spit at that thought. That is the difference between a pure devotee and a neophyte devotee or a struggling devotee. When a pure devotee, he thinks of sense gratification, he becomes disgusted. When a new devotee, a neophyte devotee, he thinks of sense gratification, he becomes attracted to that sense gratification. He starts contemplating. So that is the journey of a sadhaka, from the journey where we start, contemplating, to start becoming disgusted when a thought of sense gratification comes. And then it is described that this lady, she was trying to cover her breasts with the cloth out of shyness. So Prabhupada writes, this is very interesting because cultured people, they try to hide their rag and dvesha. This rag and dvesha is there in everyone, but cultured people, they try to hide it. So therefore, after this, when Puranjana, he saw the beauty of this Puranjani. So this Puranjani is the intelligence, materially contaminated intelligence of a living entity. So when Puranjana, he became very attracted to the very beautiful eyebrows and the smiling face of this lady, and he was pierced by the arrows of lust. It is described, although he was a hero, he could not refrain from addressing her. So very interesting purport Prabhupada writes there. He says that the jiva is bound by this material intelligence by his own free will. Nobody told us. Some people, they question, oh, why God put us in this miserable condition? We are suffering here so much. No, it was our desire. Many times people would ask, why? How did we fall from the spiritual world? Prabhupada said, what difference it makes? What will you gain even if you find out how you fell? It is just like a person who has fallen from the ship and somebody throws a rope and is asking, "Pehle mere ko batao dhakka kaun mara?" Arre? Prabhupada says, he would say that you just go on the ship and then find out who pushed you. Similarly, you go to the spiritual world and then you find out how you fell down. So the basic reason is our own free will. So Lord does not bind a living entity by the force. So this Chakravarti Thakur writes that living entity gets bound by the function of ignorance. Ignorance binds the jiva, covers the knowledge of this living entity. And that's how, when we see the sense objects, we get attracted. And then Prabhupada writes that there are two types of heroes. There are some material heroes and there are spiritual heroes. All the material heroes are like all the Bollywood heroes. Prabhupada is talking about the material heroes. Who are these material heroes? They are the victims of Maya. All of them may be looking so very powerful, so very attractive, but they are all victims of Maya. Prabhupada writes, however great a hero may be in the material world, he can be immediately conquered by the, very graphic may says, by the lumps of flesh and blood known as the breast of women. And then he says, there are so many kings, there were so many kings in the past who were captivated by the beauty of women. And he gives the example of Cleopatra. Cleopatra, she was a very beautiful lady and she completely conquered and controlled this Julius Caesar and another hero called Antony. So she actually controlled so many of the great powerful people. And then Prabhupada writes the example of Bajirao also. So the movie had come sometime back, Bajirao. So he says about this Bajirao. He says a great hero in India named Bajirao became the victim of women during the time of Maharashtrian politics, and he was defeated. And then he says that in the earlier times people would keep some beautiful girls, and they were called as They were trained as Vish Kanyas. Vish Kanya means these girls would be given very little quantity of poison every day, and slowly their whole body would become poisonous, and they would be sent to the enemy camps, and just by kissing the enemies, the enemies would be killed. So all these, some amazing stories Prabhupada tells here. So these are all material heroes which are destroyed by the Maya. And who are the spiritual heroes? They are the Goswamis. Goswamis are those who are conqueror of the senses. That is the real hero. So therefore, when Puranjan, he sees this lady, beautiful lady, he inquires. He says, "My dear lotus-eyed one, who are you? Where are you coming from? Whose daughter are you? What is the purpose of your coming here? Who are your 11 bodyguards? And who are the women following them? Who is the snake that is preceding you?" So he asks all these questions. Baba, kaun hai? Bodyguard kaun hai? Who is this snake? And who are these women following you? All these 10 people. So Prabhupada writes, living entity is always connected with a certain amount of intelligence. Thoda intelligence to hai, just like this Puranjan is asking, like, who are you? From where you came? What is your purpose? But many times this intelligence is misdirected. We ask how to acquire things of this world rather than asking questions of life. Who am I? Why am I suffering in this world? Living entities, they ask questions: how I can enjoy, how can I get this object, how can I get this person. So that is the real inquiry. Jivasya tattva jigyasa kamasya na indriya priti labho jivete yavata. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. So living entity should not engage in sense gratification. Na indriya priti labho jivet. One should not live for sense gratification. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Life should be for tattva jigyasa. To know the truth. Who am I? Why I am suffering in this world? As Sanatana Goswami asked, Ke ami? Kene amar jare tapatre. So then he asks, who are you, O lady? Are you Bhavani? Or are you Saraswati? Or are you Lakshmi? You are alone in this forest like a sage. No women remains in a forest like a sage. Only sages, they go in the forest. Are you looking for a husband? And he says, I think you must be Lakshmi. But I do not see the flower in your hand. I think you have thrown the flower somewhere. So Chakravarti Thakur analyzes all these questions. He says, one considers one intelligence to be excellent and attracted to all people because of lack of discernment. So this Puranjana, he's using his intelligence to find out who is this lady. So when he saw that this lady is very shy, she is covering her face and the eyes, and he says, you are the personification of shyness, and that shyness is attracting me. And then Chakravarti Thakur writes that this lotus bud which he is talking about this is the discerning power of Jiva. Discerning means discriminating power, and Jiva has thrown this discriminating power. Intelligence cannot discriminate. That is the function of intelligence, discrimination. But material intelligence cannot discriminate. She has thrown this lotus bud of discrimination. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that Puranjan is presenting our intelligence while he is talking with this girl. So what he is saying is, I want to enjoy with you. That is the bhoga ichha of the living entity. I want to enjoy in this world, and we are attracted by the various things which material intelligence is giving us. And therefore, nobody is interested in liberation. But the intelligence should be actually employed to know the Supreme Lord, to serve the Supreme Lord. So then after this Puranjana, he is saying so many things. Who are you? Are you Bhavani? Are you Lakshmi? But I don't think you are Lakshmi because there is no lotus in your hand. Then he says, okay, I think you are none of these women, because your feet are touching ground. The heavenly ladies, all these Apsaras and Lakshmi, Saraswati, whenever they come, they don't touch their feet to the ground, but your feet are touching to the ground. Anyways, whoever you may be, you come along with me. Even if you are Lakshmi, you are not Lakshmi, but you are so beautiful like Lakshmi. You come with me and enjoy with me in this city. I am such a great hero. I am such a powerful hero. Just as Lakshmi is accompanying the Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha, you also come with me and serve me. So Prabhupada writes that since every woman in this world is uh, also in need of a husband who is very influential, rich and powerful, Puranjana is trying to seduce the girl. So he is introducing himself as a very great personality. So therefore in this world, anyone, whether a man and woman, both wants to enjoy, and everybody is looking for a suitable partner. Then he says that I am very agitated by your glance and by your shy smiles, and therefore I am being affected by this Cupid within me. So therefore please be merciful upon me. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that this jiva is impressions of sense objects, specially produced specially by intelligence, attack him, you know, and therefore he asks for enjoyment of sense objects such as sound and touch. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that this Puranjan is telling to this Puranjani that give me enjoyment of your sense objects such as sound and touch, because these are the various faces, various ornaments, beautiful things on the face of this Puranjani, sound and touch. So he's saying actually this jiva should pray that please give me knowledge. So that is the sister of intelligence, knowledge. But he is asking for sense gratification. So then he says, please kindly show your face with nice eyebrows and eyes, and with your bluish hair scattered. And you are speaking in such very sweet way. Please, and you are not showing your face out of shyness. You have put your face down. So therefore I request, please smile and show your face. Raise your head and see me. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, this is how a living entity is particularly attracted by opposite gender. So this Puranjana, he wants to see the full form of the avidya. So this avidya comes when a living entity gets attracted by the sense objects of this world, and so many things start disturbing and distracting a living entity's determination to approach the Supreme Lord. So therefore he is requesting this girl to raise her head and see her face to face. So therefore now, as Puranjana is speaking to Puranjani, and he is telling in so many different ways about the beauty of this Puranjani, Puranjani is also getting attracted to Puranjana, and she also smilingly now spoke to him. So Prabhupada writes that it is very common understanding that a man is very aggressive and proposing to a woman also gets attracted to a man. Pumsa striya maithuni bhavame tat tayor mitha hridaya granthi mahut. So when a man and woman come together, the knot of material attachment becomes so very strong, and this is the reason for material existence of the world. So therefore now Puranjani is speaking. She's saying, I do not know my name. I do not know who has begotten me. I don't know who is my family. I don't know the names of my family. I don't know the origin of these men, who are accompanying me. I don't know from where they came. So this is again very interesting thing, that living entity is ignorant of his origin, So living entity does not know why he has come in this material world, how and why so many people are working in this material world, from where he has acquired this intelligence, from where he has acquired this senses, how these senses are functioning. All these questions are unknown. Nobody knows the answers to these questions. So therefore, this Puranjani, the intelligence is saying, I do not know the origin of myself. I do not know the origin of my assistants. So therefore, this is the actual position of a living entity. He cannot tell who is her father. She cannot tell who is her father. So then she says, I know only that I am existing in this place today. I don't know anything else. I just know this thing. I do not know who has created this residence. I do not know who has created this body, but I just know I am existing now. So this is how a living entity is ignorant about his condition. He is ignorant about his origin, he is ignorant about his purpose, and is ignorant about the source of creation. He is ignorant about the Supreme Lord. So therefore, when Prabhupada, he would speak that you are not this body, you are soul. So then audience, they may be thinking maybe he is not his body, I am my body only. So when Prabhupada, he was speaking once in the class, and then in the middle, one person, he stood up and said, I am God. And then he started shouting and creating a scene. Prabhupada said, you are not God, you are dog, sit down, and all the audience, they started clapping, So therefore, Prabhupada was very, very strong against those who don't accept that there is a supreme creator, and foolishly they claim that I am God. So that is the position of a living entity. We are ignorant. Para bhavastavad abodh jato yavanna jigyasat atma tattvam yavad kriya yavad idam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. So that is what Rishabh Dev is telling to his sons. Para bhavastavad abodh jato. Living entity is born in ignorance. And they don't know how they came in this world. It is all happening by the laws of karma. Then she says, these are my associates. She knows the names of these associates, but she doesn't know from where they came. She says, all these men and all these women, the 10 men who are always following me, and there are so many women, they are my friends. And this snake, this 5-hooded snake, he always remains awake. He protects this city even during my sleeping hours. So this is a very interesting thing to understand. So that the senses and the mind, the 11 bodyguards, 11 men, they are the 10 senses and the mind. And the women, the hundreds of desires, they are always accompanying the intelligence. Wherever the intelligence goes, material intelligence is always focused on these things. And then the snake, she says, is always awake, even during my sleeping hours. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that when we sleep, there is a phase of sleep where we dream. In the medical terms, it is called rapid eye movement sleep, dreaming stage. In that we get dreams, and then after that we don't get dream. That is deep sleep. So in dreaming stage, the senses do not function, but the mind is functioning. In deep sleep, even the mind and intelligence, they go to sleep, but this consciousness, this prana vayu, that is always active, and that's why we breathe. That's why all the actions of the body, they keep on happening. So that's what she is saying, that this snake is always awake. And then she says, by some great fortune you have come here. So you want to marry me? We will satisfy your desires. And all my friends and myself, we will try our best to fulfill your desires. This is also very interesting. So what Puranjani is saying, by some great fortune you have come here. So a living entity, by some great fortune, gets a human body. Nirdehamadhyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam gurukarnadharam mayanukule nanabhasvateritam puman bhavabdim nataret sa atmaha. By some unimaginable fortune, one gets a human body which is very suitably made boat to cross this ocean of material existence. If somebody does not take the advantage of this, he's a killer of the soul, you know. So then, and then she says, we will, you desire to satisfy your senses, we will do it. So intelligence is always working hard how to enjoy sense gratification, you know, to the best of the capacity. So that is the job of the intelligence. Material intelligence is always engaged in fulfilling the desire for sense gratification. And all the senses, they assist, they keep on giving inputs. And therefore, she says, the intelligence, Puranjani, she says, you may live here in this city of 9 gates for 100 years. I will arrange everything for your sense gratification, you know. So that is how living entity lives in this world for 100 years with the max Prabhupada writes. And in this world, in this whole life duration, the wife is the cause of all kind of success in religion, economic development, sense gratification, ultimately salvation. Dharmartha kam mokshanam dara samprapti hetava. Dara means wife. So wife is very, very conducive for performing all these 4 purusharthas. And then she says very interesting thing. She says others are incompetent, you know. How can I expect to unite with others? All the other kings, they are not conversant about sex life. They are not capable of knowing how to enjoy life while living or after death. So they are, I mean, even they are unable to think of their future. What she's saying actually, she's saying that, you know, there are so many different species of life. In some species of life, people, the living entity does not have even conception of sex. All the plants and the tree life, they have no sexual intercourse. Even in upper grades of life, you know, only in upper grades of life, like birds and beasts, they have conception of sex life. But they do not know actually how to enjoy sex life. But in human form, there is a full knowledge how to enjoy in this way. And there are scriptures also written, there is a Kam Sutra which is written. And then she says, you know, in this household life, it is very, very conducive. You engage in dharma, artha and kama. You know, and the bliss you attain is unlimited. Bliss of children, bliss of performing sacrifices, and ultimately bliss of attaining heaven. It is unlimited. That is called pravritti marga. All this is unknown to the transcendentalists, she's saying. Those who are renunciants, they are not aware of all this, you know, happiness which one gets in family life. So this is the pravritti marg which material intelligence promotes. Material intelligence will say, relax, what is the problem? Enjoy life. You know, there are so many ways, so many things available to enjoy, and then after everything is done, then you can renounce this family, don't worry. So therefore Prabhupada writes that this Puranjani is the dharmic intelligence. So the material intelligence, when a person gets, is dharmic intelligence, you know. So Puranjani is saying we will enjoy life according to the dharma, according to the principles of religion. So therefore in the next chapter, we'll discuss tomorrow how when this Puranjana leaves his wife and goes to hunt animals in the forest, she becomes very, very disturbed, aggrieved. So therefore Prabhupada writes in the purport that this pravritti marg, in life of animals and demons, there is no conception of pravritti marg also. Pravritti means following the scriptures. Animals cannot follow, the demons cannot follow. So only humans, they can follow this pravritti marga. You know, this is the civilized way of engaging in sex life. And then ultimately one gets free from this entanglement. And then she says that according to the great authorities, the householder life is pleasing not only to oneself, but to the forefathers also, to the devatas, sages, humans, because you can do all this Shraddha ceremony, You can offer the rituals to satisfy these devatas. And then she says, you are like a hero. You are such a great hero. Who will not accept a person like you? You are so very famous. You are so very handsome, generous, affectionate. And you can relieve the distress of unsheltered women like me. And then, in this way, she accepted the proposal of Puranjana, and they both entered the city, and they both enjoyed there for 100 years. So, in this way, then Narad Muni describes what is the city of 9 gates. So, the city of 9 gates represents this human body with 9 holes. What are these 9 holes? So, he says that there are 5 holes on the eastern, 5 gates on the eastern side, 1 on the northern, and other on the southern side of the gate of the city. So, the 5 eastern gates are the first, the 2 eyes, so left eye and the right eye. So he says that Narad Muni says sometimes this Puranjana, he would leave the city through his through the one eastern gate that is called Khadyota, and he would go to a destination called Vibhrajitam, that is the destination of farm. We see with the eyes. He goes with a friend called Duman. And who is that friend? The sun. The eyes are the friend and the sun is the friend. Because if sun is not there, if the eyes are not there, then there is no use of, we cannot see things. So there is a Khadyota and there is a Avirmukhi. So these are the 2 gates on the northeastern side. And then there are 2 more gates on the same eastern side. They are called Nalini and Nalini. So these represent 2 nostrils which are used to inhale and exhale. And the destination of this is Saurabha. So Puranjana, sometimes he would go to this destination called Saurabha, means sometimes he would smell. So living entity smells, Saurabha, hears, smells this fragrance. And he accompanies the friend called Avadhuta. So we have to understand that we discussed in the 2nd canto, there are tanmatras and there are some senses. There are some gross senses and there are some subtle senses. So this gross sense is the friend, and the subtle sense is the destination. Subtle sense, tanmatra, is the destination. So he says that because we smell with the nose. So this is the 4 gates. Then 5th one is the mukhya, that is the chief gate, and this is the mouth for speaking and eating. And the destination is all the eatable objects. We eat and we speak. And the accompanying friend is Rasagya and Vipana. So these are the 5 gates on the eastern side. There is 1 gate on the southern side, that is the right ear. So the right ear is used for karma kandi rituals. So all the mantras are spoken in the right ear. All these karma kandi mantras are used to be elevated to the Pitri Loka. And the destination is Dakshina Panchal. All the Pravritti scriptures, they are the destination. And the left ear is used, is the northern gate, and they are used for Jnana Kanda rituals. And their destination is Nivrittri scriptures, and the accompanying friend is Shruta Dhara, the ear. And then there are some subterranean gates. They are Asuri and Niritti, the genitals and rectum. With the genitals, the destination is the sex life, and the friend is Durmada, madness. And the rectum, the destination is Vaishasa, which is very painful, and the accompanying friend is greed. There are some other inhabitants of the city. He says there are 2 blind friends, some blind inhabitants, with which he would go and perform some activities. Who are these? They are Nirvak and Peshaskrit. That means feet and hands. They are blind, but he goes with that to perform so many activities. And there is another personality inhabitant which is called Vishuchin, that is mind. With this mind, this Puranjana, he goes to his Antahakarana, his heart, and there he experiences sometimes illusion, sometimes happiness, sometimes satisfaction from his wife, which is intelligence, and children. The children of the intelligence are generalizing, particularizing, ascertaining, and realizing. These are the four children of intelligence. We generalize, particularize, ascertain, and realize. Prabhupada writes, in the material condition, the soul is covered by these material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And within the heart, these three qualities, they react. Illusion, they arise from tamasa, satisfaction arise from sattva, and joy arise from rajas. So Puranjan, in this way, he was completely captivated by his wife. He fulfilled all the desires of his wife. And in this way, he was completely entangled in mental satisfaction because he was so very lusty. He was cheated by his wife. And he was foolish. So therefore, living entity is in such a bewilderment that he is in control of this material intelligence. And he satisfies his intelligence and so many desires of the intelligence. This Puranjana, he would follow every move of his wife. When the Puranjani would drink liquor, he would also drink. When he would dine, when she would dine, he would also dine. When she would choose something, she would also do. He would also do. When she would sing, Puranjana would also start singing. When Puranjani would cry, he would also cry. So they laughed, walked, stood still, lied down, sat together, heard, saw, smelled, touched, lamented, enjoyed, satisfied. Everything he was doing with her. So therefore, this is how a living entity follows the intelligence in every action. So intelligence here is depicted as the queen, this Puranjani, and the soul is the Puranjana who follows the material intelligence. So therefore, the conclusion is that the material intelligence is the cause of bondage of the living entity. And if somebody focuses his mind on serving the Supreme Lord, just like Amrish Maharaj, Savai Manah Krishna Padarvindayo, then one can come out of this material intelligence. So this Puranjana, he was acting like a pet animal. He was completely in control of his wife. He was like a Krida Mriga. So this is the end of this 25th chapter. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. If anybody has any questions, they can ask. 4 kinds of intelligence. Yeah, these are the 4 actions of intelligence: generalizing, particularizing, ascertaining, and realizing. So these are the 4 actions of intelligence. That means they are the children of intelligence. And that is what is described by Chakravarti Thakur. How to bring material intelligence to spiritual intelligence, that we'll be discussing tomorrow. The basic thing is by engaging in devotional service. Prabhupada writes in every purport, So just like this verse says, Savai Manah Krishna Padaravindayo Vacham Sivaikuntha Gunanu Varnane. So how Amrish Maharaj, he engaged all his senses in service of the Supreme Lord. So that is the only way to convert material intelligence to spiritual intelligence. At present, our intelligence is completely corrupted, material intelligence. Ideally, the intelligence should discriminate, should take us to God. But because material intelligence is completely corrupted, we cannot do that. So what is our intelligence? Our intelligence should be Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. These are our intelligence. So we have to take shelter of these 3 things: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And then work in such a way that our whole life is molded not based on the whims and fancies of the mind and the intelligence, but We should be driven by the will and whims of the devotees and the Supreme Lord. So that is how we can transform this material intelligence to the spiritual intelligence, taking shelter of the scriptures, taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, taking shelter of the devotional service by hearing and chanting, by the 9 process of bhakti, as you have said. So that is how we can, the material intelligence will slowly get transformed into spiritual intelligence. So like that. Okay. I try, but it becomes difficult, too difficult to keep 24 hours into Krishna consciousness. Can you give tips? Yeah, that is the struggle for everyone, So there are no shortcut ways. There are no, easy ways by which we can come to Krishna consciousness. We can become completely Krishna conscious. That is a journey which we have to make slowly but steadily. Utsaha, Nishchay, and Dhairya. It will not happen in a day or two, but we have to gradually. That's why Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Instruction, it is a sort of cultivation. Devotional service is a sort of cultivation. We have to learn this art of, making our life centered around Krishna. So, and we have to be always patient. We have to be always hopeful. We don't have to become discouraged and despondent when we see ourselves falling from the standards of devotion, when we see our so many anarthas coming again and again. Just be patient and just be consistent in your efforts. That's all. Krishna is pleased by that. Krishna is not so much concerned if you are, chanting attentively. Krishna is more concerned, are we chanting, are we trying to chant attentively? So Krishna is more concerned with that. If we are putting our heart, we are trying our best to chant attentively, that is what is pleasing Krishna the most. So Krishna is pleased by our struggles. So therefore, this is the only thing which is in our hands. Keep struggling, and to give mercy when, how, that is in Krishna's hand. That is the job of Krishna. We don't have to care so much and think so much, oh, when will I become pure devotee? When will I develop the taste for chanting? That is in Krishna's hand. Our job is to keep struggling. And we don't have to become impatient. Just be hopeful that one day it will happen. And we are not just concerned with our emotions and ecstasies. Even Daruka, when he was fanning the Lord and he was having tears of ecstasy, so he was condemning the ecstasies. Go away. You are becoming an obstacle in my path, in my service. So a devotee is not so much concerned if he is able to cry tears or he is able to dance in ecstasy. He is concerned with service. If a devotee is concerned with service, then there is nothing in this world which can stop us. Nobody can stop us from serving. So that should be our aspiration. So that is how we have to understand this process. And again, the consistency also. So we have to be with those people who are really genuine, really focused, and very sincere in their practice of Krishna consciousness. So that is how we will also develop this taste for chanting, taste for being consistent. So that is the only thing we can, understand how to be very, very consistent. Again, this word is dhairya. So dhairya is very, very important. So the more we are with the devotees who are consistent, the more we are hearing about these devotees who are consistent in their process, then we will also become consistent. And of course, there is no substitute for personal endeavors. Okay, you can send me a message personally if you have some more doubts. We can discuss. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय।